So with me, the Chief Minister, and we think we've probably combined everything now, so we think this is the last section, the public finances. Now, I understand that you have all this amount of billions of pounds, whatever it is, but it's invested around the world, and you've come out with a new way of thinking about that.
I think we've thought about it for some time, but we do invest our reserves predominantly overseas via the international stock market, well, predominantly via the London stock exchange, but also in some small part internationally, and a lot of that money will go to support investments across the country and in different parts of the world, and we'll obviously get long-term returns from those shares that we hold in investments that we take.
So you go for the best return, right? I mean, that could be
absolutely, and we've always taken the view that that's the best way to do it. I mean, I think there is an alternative view that actually in doing so, we have failed perhaps to undertake the right investments at home. And therefore, why shouldn't we be considering careful use of public reserves in projects that are revenue raising or revenue funding in the medium term? In other words,
on the island,
on the Isle of Man,
on
the Isle of Man, and that we could use carefully that money with the right business cases, the right projects, and predominantly, I think we're talking about infrastructure. And buildings and development, whether that's brownfield sites or whether that's private public sector initiatives, that we could use some of that money where there is clearly a return back to the public purse.
So there's potential for the Isle of Man's jobs to go to the top of the queue,
I think so. It generates jobs, it generates additional income, it generates revenues. But of course, what we do want to do is make sure that money is coming back into to our reserves in a positive way, in a beneficial way.
You might take a hit on the lesser return rate, right? Because they may not be so sexy as a new dam in China or something.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's we have targeted returns from our investment managers. We don't always meet those targets, but it should be of net benefit, I think, is probably a statement to make, and I'm sure Alex Allinson will be explaining further how he sees that working in the coming months, as if providing we get the right sort of support.
There's a lot of logic there. I mean, it just sounds logical, to invest here, which will create more jobs and more wealth.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it sounds so obvious.
No, I think so. I think so. One cannot afford to be anything less than undertake public reserve spending with careful analysis and make sure it is carefully sort of frameworked and that we clearly assign that we need to make returns from it. But yes, you're right, Paul. I mean, at the end of the day, why are we effectively using that money to support growth and development and investment in other businesses and other countries when actually we could equally benefit from that here on the island?
Can you wean yourself off running so many things though? Because the government, we're back to the size and I suppose everything, running things that maybe governments shouldn't really be involved in. Do you see that continuing, or do you want to try and get the private sector to take things over?
I think we've been clear. No, I don't know whether it's just about private sector taking things over, but it's certainly about making sure that government is focusing on its key priorities. And we've seen clearly there are areas that I think could be run a lot better. So, here's something to whet your appetite, Paul. Expect some announcements and statements in October and November about how which areas I think that we see could be run in a different and better way.
You have a list?
Well, I think I've already said to you when I made a statement to Tim Ward, I think we made clear when we were talking about governance, corporate culture and how things are running within government, and we've set out our improvement program and plans for that. That there were areas that could be run differently, and we'll see in October and November how we can.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. This big report, would it finally see the light of day for everyone to have a look at? By the way, this massive
yes,
thing,
everything's being made public. Everyone will be able to access it and be able to analyse and make their own opinions.
And you're wanting this feedback?
We will have a consultation, so we'll open up a consultation on the government response anyway.
Very blanket open, like you ask certain questions?
They'll be released. They'll be released in the next week or two. There's a one of our initiatives is to have a government conference. We will have a government conference on the 20th and 21st of September in the Villa Marina. The economic plan now will form a very key part of, the economic strategy will form a key part of that. There will be chances to listen to ministers, talk to representatives, talk to key individuals involved with this, enter into Q&A discussions. So I'm hoping that will also provide a platform. And as I said, in November, the elected representatives, Tynwald, will have their opportunity to debate the economic plans, and also
to look at it
vote.
and think about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
No one can say they can't have enough time to look at this.
I mean, you're 1 year into your term now then, so this is it. In the next 4, how far along this road are we going to be for you to be able to take it?
I want to make sure that we get substantial progress. And Paul, I mean, we've had these kind of documents before, but delivery is absolutely vital. And in fact, this council, this government has said this right from the beginning. That's why we said we needed to have policy and delivery committees at the heart of government. We are going to make sure that we set up the proper governance around this and that we get traction. And that the attached documents that you've already being released, in fact, today. After I've spoken.
Yeah, this is on Tuesday.
Tomorrow after I've spoken. Will contain things like the Built Environment Reform Programme, our Climate Change Action Plan, and alongside our economic strategy.
You used the word traction there, which is that's the key thing, isn't it? To get this big ball moving and having the impetus to keep it going. I mean, this all comes again. Government departments all having to work together. The dreaded word silos and all that. Are you going to have some sort of makeover?
Well, we're already focused on that. We've already set out a number of actions in our island plan, and we're not going to stop looking to improve and deliver better quality services for people of this island, irrespective of the big headlines in the economic strategy, which of course bring things together, set out our ambitions for the future. But that doesn't mean to say that at the very heart of this remains the day-to-day job of this government as well, in terms of improving the core services that are being delivered, the educational service, putting in the new quality assurance scheme, delivering on our transformation commitments when it comes to healthcare, and reducing waiting lists, getting infrastructure into shape, making sure we've got better aspects for capital programs, making sure that the infrastructure department is properly structured, and you'll hear about that in October, alongside justice and legal reform that has already been undertaken, an inquiry that we promised into COVID. We've made the promises. This government is going to be about delivery, and we're going to make sure these things happen.
And that's why I have to ask this one question, which is the one that could sink everything. After the Dr. Ranson inquiry and this one little area of light was shone into seeing what was going on behind the scenes, and I mean, you can't be proud of it. How can you be certain you can rely on your civil service and those people? I mean, do you think that was it? I mean, do you have? I know it's such a difficult and tough question. I'm not holding up that civil servants is an issue, but the door was opened and we saw some ugly stuff there.
I don't want to repeat what we've been through already, Paul. I mean, but we've made commitments.
Yeah,
I said proper leadership review at the very head of the civil service. We need to understand the role of the chief secretary in that leadership position. A proper review into OHR in terms of understanding, Office of Human Resources, how they interact, and make sure that the proper processes, procedures, that the right culture is in place within government.
The right culture.
It is. That's absolutely fundamentally about culture.
So you've got more changes?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got this Tynwald, a vote on non-executive directors, which I hope Tynwald will support. We've got to increase and improve the governance in government departments, and we've got to change the culture. And we're going to do that. The Chief Secretary, the interim Chief Secretary, has been tasked to start to do that, and we're carrying on those additional items, which I've already mentioned.
None of this can be done unless that culture is all on side, right?
I think. Listen, I mean, we have to be right, and we're on a turnaround. I said we're going to do it within 12 months, and we're going to find ways to make sure that in 12 months' time, government is more effective, efficient, the culture, governance, accessibility, and that we're listening properly to the workforce, to people on the ground, and that people want to come and work in a forward-thinking, productive organisation that listens to them.